Hello, and thanks for joining us for this webinar about the Singularity University and World Food Program Global Impact Challenge. We're delighted to have so many of you join us live today. My name is Heidi Lawrenson. I'm the Vice President of Marketing here at Singularity University, and I have the distinct privilege of moderating today's webinar. To get us started, I'd like to give you a chance to try a polling device that we have and will be using throughout the webinar. We have a question for you. As a marketer, and because we at SU are passionate about sharing our mission and having others do the same, we're curious to know how you learned and heard about the Global Impact Challenge. So if you could click on the answer that indicates how you learned about today's webinar. Wonderful. Sounds like a lot of you heard from us directly, and also social media and the World Food Program. That's all to be expected and great to hear. So thank you for answering that. That helps us a lot. So at Singularity University, we empower leaders and organizations with the mindset, skill set, and the network, which is essentially what we're building here, to build breakthrough solutions that leverage emerging technologies like artificial intelligence, robotics, digital biology to solve the world's biggest problems. And today, we're talking specifically about SU's Global Impact Challenge, or GIC program. GICs are annual competitions held in partnership with sponsor organizations, in this case, World Food Program, that are organized by geography and theme. The goal is to find the most promising, innovative ideas for moonshot innovations and startups that can positively impact 1 billion people in 10 years. And this year, we're really proud to be partnering with the World Food Program on a challenge to end world hunger by 2030, and in particular, to find a low-cost, scalable solution to improve food security in emergency situations. Shortlisted winners of this GIC, and this is the exciting part, will attend a boot camp in April at the WFP Innovation Accelerator in Munich, Germany, to further develop their ideas. And following the boot camp, one team will also receive a full sponsorship to attend SU's Global Solutions Program, or GSP as we call it, this summer at our campus in Silicon Valley. Together, the GSP and GIC programs represent just the start of a journey for passionate, future-shaping entrepreneurs like yourselves. And so in today's webinar, we'll be talking about the application process, what we look for in those who apply, and answers to as many questions as possible. Okay, and you have an amazing panel of speakers joining you and sharing this information with you. From Singularity University, we have Nicholas Haan and Regina and Njima. And from the World Food Program, from the Innovation Accelerator, we have both Bernhard Kowatsch and Alexandra Alden. Say hello, everybody.
Hello.
Hi.
Excellent, thank you. So before I Wonderful, thank you all. So before I introduce our first speaker, Bernhard, another quick poll. We'd like to learn where you are sitting right now, or where you come from. Great. All right. Thank you so much. So a few super quick housekeeping items before we get started. So I want to let you know that all participants will be muted throughout the duration of this presentation to ensure that everybody has the best audio quality. But during the presentation, if you do encounter any audio issues, please refresh your browser and then check your computer's audio settings. We often find that will fix it for people. And we'll be saving 15 minutes for questions at the end of the webinar, so you don't have to wait until the end to answer your questions, though. You can use the chat button at any time to submit questions as they occur to you. We'll be monitoring that and putting them in the queue for the panel to answer, and we'll try to get to as many as we can. And lastly, we'll be recording today's webinar and we'll be sharing a link to that recording in our follow-up communications. And that way you can listen to it again and even share it with others who may be interested. Okay, we can now get started. I'm really delighted to introduce to you Bernhard Kowatsch of the World Food Program. And Bernhard, I just want to say on behalf of Singularity University, we're absolutely delighted to be working with you and are truly grateful for this partnership. Over to you, Bernhard.
Thanks so much. No, thank you, everybody, for joining in today. I wanted to give you a bit of an overview also about what's actually the mission that we're talking about, to create a world without hunger. This is part of our global goals, the Sustainable Development Goals. This goal number 2 is to create a world without hunger by 2030. And this is one of the goals that we're really all working towards. If you want, it was a UN General Assembly, these were adopted as the world leaders came together and said, what are the goals that we're trying to achieve in the next 15 years? So looking on the next slide then, you could actually see also that 20 years ago there were about 1 billion people considered hungry worldwide, while 2 years ago it was already 795 million people. So this means we are actually making progress. So from 90% globally, we've now reached only 11% of the global world's population that are considered hungry. So if we continue that pace, so while we are making progress in the year 2030, we still have around 500 to 600 million people that are hungry on this planet. And as there's enough food on this planet right now so that everybody could actually lead a healthy life, we really believe we need to do something different. We need to actually ramp up our game, and innovation is one of the areas how we can actually reach a world without hunger. So with this, I'm handing back over to Regina to talk about the GFC.
Thank you, Bernhard. And this is just a quick recap from what Heidi just covered on our global impact challenges. So our global impact challenges, as we call them here at SUGICs, are an open call to entrepreneurs, scientists, technologists, or any other person to come up with the most innovative idea that could impact 1 billion people in 10 years. We have been able to host these challenges since 2010 here at Singularity University, and last year we had about 16 global impact challenges hosted in different regions all over the world, from Europe to Africa to South America. And this year we've been quite excited to have this partnership with the WFP program to host our very first Food in Emergencies Global Impact Challenge. And really the goal of this challenge is to ask all of you to come up with big ideas using technologies that could contribute to WFP goal to end hunger in 2030. So as you're thinking about this, think of really secure, sustainable innovations that would be able to provide local and nutritious food in emergencies. So think about people who are in refugee camp. Think about people who are affected by drought. These are the people we'd like to provide solutions for. And we're here definitely to support you if you have any questions on that. I'll hand over to Bernhard to give you details on this particular challenge.
Thank you. So what we see on the next slide then is that we are really looking for moonshot solutions. And this means, first of all, we would like to have solutions that have a large impact potential. So ideally, they could lift over 100,000 people out of hunger, or could raise over $2 million or save them, and are easy to scale. At the same time, they should be innovative, like it should apply a new business model, exponential technology, having a new product, a new service, like being original in what you're also coming up with. And the third aspect is a dedicated team. It's a strong team, balanced team with the relevant skills that ideally already being represented on the team itself. obviously, as a startup accelerator, we ourselves also can help teams actually come up and augment the team as necessary. But what we're looking for, ideally, that will be these three factors all along. So now, if we're looking on the next slide, the applicant criteria, the challenge is open to anyone, anywhere in the world. So if you're a startup, for-profit, non-profit, if you're working for a corporation, if you have your own startup already, you're working in academia, you're right now in university, or anything else that you're doing, it's open to anybody. You must be at least 21 or older at the first day of GSP, and obviously conduct yourself professionally in written and spoken English. And you should be able to participate in a 4-day boot camp in Munich that we will organize here in the Innovation Accelerator in Munich, Germany, together with Singularity University. This will happen between the 18th of April and the 21st of April. Afterwards, should you be selected to be going through the GSP program, obviously, you should also be able to actually participate in the entire GSP 17 program from June 17 to August 17, 2017. And so we actually, from World Food Forum side, we would be covering your travel costs if you'll be selected for up to 2 people per startup. If you're a startup founder, if there's more startup founders, like additional startup founders would need to be covered by you, but we cover up to 2 people in terms of just travel costs. Then let's look into like the solution criteria, which you see on the next slide. Regina already mentioned we're really looking for that moonshot solution. Like, think about, you are in an emergency situation. There was a landslide, there was a hurricane, a typhoon, and you've lost the basis for your income. You've lost like your job. Maybe you actually have been making income from farming, so you have lost all of that asset too. So we're looking for a solution that could be deployed quickly after an emergency. So instead of just transporting food and distributing it, that people can actually provide for themselves. The criteria that we will use for assessing the solution is the cheaper the better. So it's right now it actually costs us $75 to provide food assistance for a family for a month, just as a marker for you to keep in mind as well. The more profitable, the better. Like, okay, obviously, if we would need to bring in something to a particular place after a hurricane, the more costly it's better. The smaller the solution, the better. The faster the solution can produce food, the better. The more nutritious the food is, the better. And the less dependent on external resources, such as materials, water, electricity, also the better. That could also mean like maybe there's a mix between materials that you might need to bring in versus locally available materials that could actually just reuse. And then now looking into the application process. So those of you who already looked into the GSC page, you will actually see there's various elements that you will need to complete. One is it's about yourself. And your experience in life, so your CV, the expertise and proficiency in those areas. We've made the video that you are supposed to produce is optional, so in case you don't have the right material, you don't have to do it. Like, we'll also look at your submission if you don't have the video, but like, we recommend it, have one if it's possible. And we would like to have a look at your pitch deck, the essay question, and then additional info that we're looking for. And now, so what's the price then? So what can you gain from it? And that's on the next slide. It all starts with the boot camp here at our World Food Forum Innovation Accelerator. I already mentioned the 18th to 21st of April. And really what this is about is you will come here and we will work with you, with experts, and also with colleagues from Singularity University to plan and refine your ideas. Bringing in directly experts who actually are able to tell you, is this idea actually worthwhile? How would you need to adapt it? How could we test it? How could you quickly actually make it happen? And at the end of it, we will make a selection. There's one team that will be selected of up to 2 participants that will go to, as you Global Solutions Program, and we will select additional teams among those that actually participate in the boot camp that's for our Accelerator support. And our Accelerator support typically involves cash in terms of $50,000 to $100,000 for 0% equity, so we provide this as a contract. Teams like experts and entrepreneurs that are on our team can join your team temporarily for a 3 to 6 month period to really push forward the innovation, and we provide access to our networks and our field operations. And the team that's going to run through the Global Solutions Program is afterwards also eligible to actually go through our Spring program, so the same deal in terms of like funding, coaching, and access to our field operations. And obviously there's future SU opportunities as well, as you'll still hear from Regina, who is going to take over now again.
Thank you, Bernhard. This is actually Nicholas Haan. I'm the Vice President of Impact and the Faculty Chair for Global Grand Challenges here at Singularity University. Prior to my current role, however, I was the Managing Director of the Global Solutions Program. So I happen to know a little bit about what that experience might be, and I'd like to share that with you. So what is the GSP, the Global Solutions Program? It's actually Singularity University's flagship program. It was the first program we ever developed, and it's a very special program in that we bring some 90 people from around the world together to learn about the world's biggest problems, exponential technology, and empower them with the tools and methods to create viable solutions to these challenges. We have 4 main objectives for the GSP. One is adopt. This is an opportunity for you to adopt a mindset that understands exponential trends in technology, societal implications, and the possibilities for abundance. We believe here at Singularity University that not only can the global grand challenges be solved, but we can live in a world of abundance, and technology will have a role to play in developing that. The second objective is to create. Create and develop innovative solutions to humanity's grand challenges that leverage exponential technologies to impact upwards to 1 billion people and transition into viable startups post-GSP. The third objective, transform. All of the participants who go through the GSP are transformed as individuals and into global leaders that can positively impact society in any number of ways. And the fourth objective is to build a community of lifelong peers committed to creating an abundant future. The curriculum for the GSP, which is a 9-week program, is to learn about the world's biggest challenges. Food is one of our Global Grand Challenge areas, and we'll be also covering other ones as well. To learn about exponential technologies, both generally how technologies follow exponential trends, and then also specifically into specific technological areas. The participants will also learn about innovation tools and methodologies, including entrepreneurship, design thinking, data science, future forecasting, and policy law and ethics. They'll go through a very intensive personal transformation curriculum, including leadership, resilience, creativity, exponential thinking, and to adopt that abundance mindset. And then participants form teams. So anyone who's accepted into the program will explore their peers and colleagues and identify others that they want to work with and develop a team project with. They work on that team project with intensive mentoring that we find from around Silicon Valley and elsewhere throughout the whole world. And then they develop that into a team project. And at the very end of the program, the output is their presentation of that team project in front of potential investors and other people who might be able to support them post-GSP. So the timeline for the GSP is from June 17th to August 17th. It's a very intensive 9-week experience, and it is a full-time engagement. What's the daily experience like? It is 24/7. You wake up early in the morning, have a healthy breakfast, and already you're learning, you're discussing, you're debating with your peers about exponential technology and the curriculum, and you go through a kind of a classroom type setting. And then in the evening, we typically have workshops, we have hands-on technology workshops, we have very high-level speakers, VIP speakers who come in with us, and we have what we call fireside chats, including with our founders, Ray Kurzweil and Peter Diamandis. The lifestyle during the GSP is we have lodging here at the NASA Ames Research Center, kind of like dormitories. And we do expect everyone to pair up. We'll pair participants up according to their likes and dislikes. And there will be 2 people to a room. Meals are provided, healthy meals. And the classroom, you have 24/7 access, including to our innovation lab and our technology lab. Anyone who is admitted into the GSP is expected to commit to the long-term Singularity University entrepreneurial journey. That starts with this GIC that we're talking about here right now. Anyone who is selected from the GIC will go into the 9-week GSP experience. After the GSP experience, or I should say at the very end of the GSP experience, participants are invited to apply to what we call Launchpad, which is a kind of like an incubator program for successful ideas that need to get traction to be turned into viable startups. After Launchpad, those startups go out into the real world, quote, into the wild. And they try to get market traction. They try to develop their products and services. And those that are having success in that are then invited to apply to Singularity University's Accelerator program, which takes existing startups and scales them up into extremely successful, high-impact companies. Any startup that's developed through GSP becomes part of Singularity University's startup network, where we have we have dozens of companies actually that are supporting each other, that have access to Singularity University's mentors, have access to us faculty and other supports that we provide in an ongoing manner. And with that, I will hand it back to Heidi to moderate a question and answer section.
Thank you, Nick. Excellent questions are coming through, so I'm excited to hear what you guys have to say in response to those. Thank you, everybody who submitted questions. So, team, first of all, a number of questions have come in around how solidified the solution and the team must be. And I'll start off with one from Santiago, which I love because I just love his attitude. He says, I'm not an expert with the solution I'm proposing. I just know it's possible and it works. Does this matter?
I'll pick that up. We at Singularity University recognize that innovation can come in the most unlikely quarters. In fact, we believe one of our greatest strengths in developing moonshot innovations is to mash up a diverse set of ideas and people. So yes, it is very possible if you have an idea from maybe a design thinking perspective or some idea that's floating around in your head, but you don't necessarily have the technical experience, that's fine. You'll come here and you will be partnering with, you'll identify a team member who does have that hardcore technical experience, maybe that coding or that robotics building or that genetic engineering experience that it requires to make your solution a reality.
Super. So related to that, Erling asks, how developed must the idea be for a submission to this GIC? Can it be at the napkin stage or must there be a committed team on board?
I think I'll ask our World Food Program colleagues to answer that, please.
Yeah, sure, we can take that one. I think that we're really open to ideas that are from the early stage to fully implemented and developed. But I think the key is to show that you really thought it through. So, maybe a big napkin that's been well mapped out. But it's okay if it's still in the design kind of stage. But you do want to actually really think it through before you submit it. And think about possible opportunity areas, possible problem areas, and it's also really okay to flag areas where you know that you need further research. So yeah, anything is possible.
Wonderful. Thanks for that. And relatedly, then, this is more speaking to the question about the team, how solidified that has to be. We've referred a lot to startups. So the question is, are you looking for applicants to start a new corporate entity, or are you referring more generally to a startup idea that could be presented by an existing organization or company?
For the SU Global Solutions Program, we expect these to be ideas, not to be pre-formed companies. If for SU's entrepreneurial ecosystem, if you have a pre-formed company that already has a product and service, the more appropriate program for you to apply to would be the Accelerator program. So the Global Solutions Program is specifically designed for ideas and innovative people to come into the program and to develop those into startups.
Yes, and maybe let me add from our side, from World Food Program, I think we are generally agnostic whether you already have a startup, whether you're a for-profit startup, non-profit, whether you're a team at university. I think we are actually fairly open to that because as an accelerator, obviously that we are looking for ideally teams that can take things on board. Does it have to be a company per se? It doesn't have to be. If you are entrepreneurial, I mean, there are other forms of like how you can also get engaged. Like if, let's say, you have a great idea, or like maybe you and a friend have a great idea, but you're not a company. I mean, especially in the nonprofit world, like it could be that there's other forms of how we could actually engage you.
Great, and super quick follow-up to that, Bernhard. Joseph's asking whether we've had participants from faith-based organizations and whether that would be good.
From Singularity University's perspective, we're agnostic on that. As I mentioned before, we feel that one of our greatest strengths is a diversity of mindsets, and that's diversity in every aspect of that term. So faith-based is fine by us.
Yeah, it's same for the World Food Program. As United Nations organization, we don't discriminate against any type of like either religion, gender, ethnicity, you name it. Like we are open to everything.
Super, great. I fully anticipated that would be the answers. I have a couple questions that have come in around the type of solutions. So Yazin is asking, would you consider solutions that aid with distribution of the food as opposed to just the actual production?
So at this point, I would say I would be curious what the solution is actually. I think for us, the focus would be how you could provide food in emergencies that ideally have this sustainable type of food production. Now, could there be an aspect where you're saying it's about how you can transport it, so there is then kind of a solution that's sustainable, locally available, that you can reestablish? Yes, definitely, that's a possibility.
Okay, super. Another question around the type of solution. What if the idea is not about a food program, but about the general health of a population?
The general health of the population. I mean, so right now, as we're looking into food for emergencies, like it's the aspect that we're looking into is both the calories, so like just having the basic calorie needs covered, so it's just general food. We're at the same time looking into like nutritional, diversified diets and like the nutritional aspects, so that would be health as well. At this point, we are not looking into any type of vaccines in that part. But like, if you think about like fortification or vitamin enrichment, that could be part of the solutions.
Yeah, I mean, so honestly, we're very interested in hearing everyone's ideas. So if you surprise us, submit. But the ones that we're most interested in will definitely have an impact on this challenge, which the challenge is how can people have a sustainable source of food after an emergency. So, if your idea doesn't relate to that, I would encourage you to think it through and be like, how could it relate to that? And then base your application kind of around that. So I would encourage you to push yourself beyond the current concept and think about it in a new way.
And also to add on that, for anyone who does not have an idea related to food, we also encourage you to apply to other global impact challenges on our website that may be open to any problem area. You can go to our website, su.org/GIC, and you'll see those challenges.
That's actually a perfect lead-in to a question that's come through. I'm going to shift gears to questions that have come in around the application process. And one very much related to what you just said, Regina, is are we permitted to or encouraged or discouraged from applying to more than one GIC?
We actually encourage everyone to apply to more than one to increase your chances of winning. We have a number of open global impact challenges at the moment with different deadlines. However, for now, first apply to this Food in Emergencies challenge since it's closing up quite soon, and any other challenge that you are eligible to apply. And just a quick note, this challenge, the Food in Emergencies, is open to anyone, irrespective of where you're living, whereas the other challenges are only eligible to people in certain geographic areas.
Great. A couple of really practical questions have come in, and Regina, maybe if you can just reiterate some of these basics here. Number one is, what is the deadline? And if they want to participate, where can they register their innovative idea or project?
Great, that's a good question. The deadline is March 14th, and apologies for any confusion. We decided to extend the deadline because we realized there's so much interest from innovators who would want to send in their application. Therefore, the new deadline is March 14th, 2017. And for you to be able to send in your application, I'll be sharing the website at the end of this session. So if you go on our website, you'll see the submit button where you'll send in your idea.
Super. Now another application-related question. So for the pitch deck, how detailed should it be with regard to things such as market and industry figures, economics, etc.?
Yeah, so I mean, a pitch deck is exactly that. It's your sales pitch. So you are trying to convince us that your idea is worthwhile, it has a high potential for impact, and you and your team are the people that need to implement it because you're the best, you have the experience, you have the knowledge. So yeah, definitely include numbers, but you want to include the numbers that will have the most impact and the numbers that tell your story. So you don't want to include like dense data and like tons and tons of graphs. Like choose what really represents what you want to say. Yeah, and you want to like lead with like, this is the problem, this is how big the problem is, this is our solution, this is how it addresses it. You know, something on like the financial sustainability or the profitability potential, milestones you've already achieved, milestones you hope to achieve, and then who your team is. And again, like if you're missing, you know, if you know you need a tech person, and you don't have that, it's okay to identify that when you talk about your team. But also, you just really want to play up your skills and how it's applicable to this and experiences that you've had.
Great, thanks, Alex. I have a related question that I think might be a good one for you as well. This person writes that the expertise and accomplishments section of the application feels rather intimidating, asking for evidence of 3 accomplishments on the page. Do you encourage us, in this case them, to fill in all of these sections, even with some smaller accolades, or should we leave blank spaces if we don't feel quite as accomplished?
I'll pick that up. I think feel free, you might be surprised at your own accomplishments, quite frankly. Fill out the form and identify your 3 largest accomplishments according to your own reference. And you might be surprised to know that something that you've done is actually very unique and very important and very valuable. Now that said, the Global Solutions Program is specifically designed for very high achievers who are able, have the capacity and desire to create true moonshot solutions to the world's biggest challenges and to turn those into viable startups. That means that the people coming into the program really should be high achievers and accomplished people in the areas of technology, entrepreneurship, or deep understanding of the world's biggest challenges. So bottom line, fill out the application with your own background in mind, and you might be surprised that there's a unique thing that you've done that's extremely valuable, even if in your own mind it isn't.
Great answer. Okay, super. Another question from Roxana. We don't have a product exactly, but we're creating an app and a website in order to reduce food waste. Would that be okay? And in our essay, should we show, do we have to show an economic study or how profitable our idea is?
Yeah. No, so if you go to our website, innovation.org, you'll actually see that we have supported a team together with a startup in Kenya called Transformers that's actually working on food waste and repurposing like ugly foods for school meals, for instance. So the general answer is yes, it could be relevant. It depends on what exactly the idea really is and how the program works and how applicable that is in emergency settings as well, right? But to your second question, which was do you have to show an economic study? It doesn't have to be an economic study, but ideally you would have some sort of idea of the cost components or the business model, like who is going to pay for it? Is it like, for instance, if you're talking about relief, is it something that maybe a donor would be paying for, or is the sustainable business model that you can create a business around? And then for that, you at least want to have some assumptions of that may be able to work.
Okay, good. A couple others specific questions have come up around individual scenarios. Joseph asks, I'm already working at breaking the poverty trap of the poorest of the poor through the provision of relief for economic resilience and wish to bring it to scale. Is this something that your initiative can work on?
Well, if you can prove that, as you're saying, if you want to bring something to scale, I'm assuming you already have some proof that it's working. I'd be intrigued what that means, like providing relief for economic resilience. But I think that it could be an interesting solution, especially also maybe if technology is play, saying you use exponential technology combined with something that you can quickly deploy and then the people will be economically resilient. They could be quite possible, yes.
Yeah. I'd also just add that while the Accelerator supports a variety of projects, and so a significant portion of our projects are in the scaling phase. So we're pretty happy and equipped to help you in that phase as well.
Okay, super. A question following up about from the pitch deck question earlier. Erling's curious if the World Food Program has readily available data sets or reports online that you would encourage participants to use, or applicants to use.
I'm just wondering, there are a couple of data sets that are online, particularly from our vulnerability assessment, analysis, and mapping unit is on our website, it's wp.org. If you go to it's a VAN team. One other thing that I can suggest in terms of data, obviously, the open data from the World Bank is usually quite helpful if you want to find just basic data about, economics and that type of thing. And if you want to find about, hungry people and the hunger numbers like this. There's a study, the state of food security in the world between FAO and the World Food Program that has that type of data. And if you're interested in a particular country, World Food Program has country briefs. So you actually can go on our website and one can find out more. You can find out the number of hungry people, where they are, what we currently do operationally as World Food Program. That may give you a bit of a glimpse as well into the actual situation on the ground.
Okay, good. A question about the GSP experience. Apolline asks, how many weeks will I be able to dedicate to my own project if I go to the GSP?
So the entire GSP is a 9-week intensive 24/7 experience. We encourage people to effectively start developing their idea from day one. And part of that developing your idea is identifying other team members for you to work with as well. In terms of the curriculum, the first 5 weeks of the curriculum is more about the knowledge, the personal transformation, and getting the tools and methods and skills that you will need for your team project. The final 3 to 4 weeks of the program is pretty much dedicated to building out your team project idea. So in short, start from day one, But the last 3 or 4 weeks of the program is pretty much 100% dedicated to the teams working on their ideas.
Okay, great. Some practical questions now about the Munich experience. So Carlos is wondering if they're admitted to go to Munich, will they be responsible for paying their flight tickets, or is that included in the selection?
So from the teams that we will select, we will pay a flight and accommodation of like up to 2 people per team to come to Munich and stay here throughout the innovation bootcamp. So like wherever you are on this planet, we will cover the flight. If you, in case, and I mean we've had that question in the past, like if you have a founding team of 3 people rather than 2, and you really want to bring the third person, then the third person would need to be covered by you, but we will fund up to 2 people.
Super, thanks. Lynn has 2 great moonshot ideas, apparently, and he's wondering whether teams already working on an idea are more likely to be admitted than individual entrepreneurs.
Okay, so I think from our side, it's actually it's both is actually possible. I think what we're usually looking for is to have the critical skill sets represented on the team. At the same time, as Alex mentioned earlier, it's both also from our side. If you make it clear, well, maybe you have the business angle, but you lack the technology, or you have the technology expertise, but you need somebody with a bit more of a business or human-centered design experience, for instance, that's totally possible as well. As an accelerator, we also function as to actually bridge that gap and be able to help you actually develop this. From experience, I would say that if you already have an idea and you have like 2 people that are rallying around an idea and you're really committed and you think you can change the world and achieve a moonshot idea, obviously that means that you yourself have already at least convinced the second person. So the idea is probably already good. But Nick, what do you say?
For the Global Solutions Program, we welcome individuals and we also welcome teams of 2 to 3 people. And as far as we're concerned, we're more interested in the ideas and the passion and expertise behind the people than whether it's an individual or a team. So consider us agnostic on that.
Another team-related question that's come in from Carlos, whose business partner is also on this webinar. He's asking that because he and his partner are both industrial engineers, they imagine that they may want to balance that out with somebody who knows something about marketing. So do you have any recommendations or advice on other types of people that should be recruited?
As far as the GSP is concerned, as I mentioned before, it's our expectation that you come in as an individual or a team, and in fact, you do find other team members that complement your background and skill sets. So that's the GSP is specifically designed for that. In general, successful teams that we've seen in the past are teams that have a strong technical expertise, a strong entrepreneurial expertise, and a strong and deep domain knowledge of the problem area. So at the minimum, a successful team has those 3 domains of expertise behind them.
I think obviously one of the reasons why we're partnering with Singularity University to actually run this challenge is to find fresh ideas, to find new ideas and entrepreneurs or people who are excited about their innovations. And we acknowledge that maybe the ideal case may not be always possible. And so obviously our role and our reasons for existence is exactly to bridge that gap, to bring people from who are maybe industrial engineers or tech entrepreneurs together with people who understand developing countries, or people who really understand the problem and some of the solutions in developing countries with state-of-the-art technologies and entrepreneurs. So I think from that angle, I would second what Nick says in terms of the mix that you'd ideally have, but we can also balance this out through our process.
Yeah, and just one thing to add to it, I think one of the key things is just being able to demonstrate kind of grit, like the ability to continue in the face of obstacles, is really important to us. And then I think it's also a key factor, the fact that you're both designers and you know where the limitations of your knowledge is. So instead of thinking that you can solve all the problems, being able to identify when you need to bring in other people as staff, but also as experts or partners or whatever, is a really key characteristic to successful endeavors.
Okay, super. This Mario is looking, I think, for some guidance around who attends, maybe some assurance, I should say, not guidance. He notes that this program seems suited for young entrepreneurs, and while he's sure that we'll say that this is open to any age and professional level, he notices that realistically, this program and the commitment may be for people starting their professional life, particularly because of the long-term commitment. Can you comment on that?
Yeah, I'll be happy to comment on that. Most definitely, we encourage people anywhere from the age of 21 to 221. Maybe that doesn't seem like a reality now, but in our future, there will be 221-year-olds. No, quite seriously, our median age is about 35 years old for the Global Solutions Program. Because of our standards of accomplishments and levels of expertise of people who come in fact, it's not skewed towards the recent graduate. The recent graduate would have had to have proved herself or himself with significant potential. It's actually looking for people who have been out there in the real world and developed solutions already that can demonstrate they have the capacity to create moonshot solutions to the world's biggest challenges and turn those into viable companies. So for sure, we encourage people from any age, and in fact I can say 100%, we've had 65 years old people. I don't think we've had anyone above 70, but we've had people in the 60s in the program, and they fully engage in the program, and again, it comes back to what I said earlier. We feel one of our greatest strengths in our approach to innovation is diversity and a mashup of ideas, and that includes a diversity of age sets as well.
Yes, and maybe just to talk a bit about what we do as the World Food Program Accelerator, the funding that we provide and also the expertise or the experts that can augment your team and the access to the field locations is we actually encourage, if not force people to develop or implement the solutions where the user is, which means that if your user would be, it could be that your bulk of your technology innovation requires lots of technical entrepreneurs that are in a tech hub somewhere on this planet, so maybe you want to do development there and you have to go implement it in field trials. In a lot of cases, what we've seen is that people, if you are already doing something in a particular country, that we can actually provide the funding and the support and the coaching to actually make you successful there and actually work with the people that we are trying to actually lift out of hunger. So, and I think this is an important aspect also that, and a question that comes often is, I think for us, it's not so much only working on a theoretical solution, but we're really embracing lean startup and human-centered design. So for us, it's important to also learn quickly, fail fast, and implement stuff, so ultimately to actually get to these moonshot ideas.
Wonderful, thanks. Bernhard, super quick question for you. You just mentioned funding again in your answer. Someone is wondering how much equity you mentioned earlier in the webinar. If you could repeat that.
Sorry, it's zero. So we actually don't take any equity stake. So we provide just a contract. So if what you're setting out to do as a company or as a team is essentially fulfilling the needs of our organization in ending hunger, we will give you a contract, and as part of a contract, that's actually that you're getting the money to actually pursue this. I acknowledge it's probably not the standard accelerator structure, and it's for most people pretty surprising, but I think it's also where if we're aligned in our direction and objectives and we all want to end hunger, I think from our perspective, this is exactly what we also want to support you on in being successful.
From the SU Global Solutions Program perspective, any team project which comes out of the Global Solutions Program and wants to apply for our Launchpad, the incubator, and then SU does, as part of that agreement, take 5% equity in that company if it's a for-profit entity. If it's a nonprofit entity, that's fine as well. But bottom line, if a team project comes out of the program and wants to be part of the incubator program, part of the agreement is a 5% equity stake for SU.
A couple of questions around notification of participants being accepted when they'd attend the boot camp, et cetera. Just general question around acceptance timelines.
I can take that one. So as you know, we are closing the application March 14th, and we'll probably need about a week or two to review all applications. All finalists and or winner who will be going to the boot camp will be advised on April 21st. Will be advised on March 21st, and I actually realized where the confusion is coming in. So finalists will be announced March 21st, and the boot camp will begin from 18th to 21st. So we'll be working with you and provide you with visa letters if you require this, so that you can apply visas to be able to go to Munich for the boot camp for the people who will be selected as finalists. Then after the boot camp, the winners from that boot camp will be announced in early May, date TBD, and the winner will go forward to Global Solutions Program that's starting in June, and or the WFP program, dates TBD.
Okay, great. And we're just a couple of minutes before the top of the hour, so I'll be asking the last one or two questions here. This question is somewhat related to what we talked about before. They're a biz dev person who's been working for startups and understands, and I think, Nick, you just reinforced this, that these types of programs and accelerators usually choose based on the potential of entrepreneurs and solutions with some traction. Is this the case with the GSP and GIC? Yeah. So biz dev working for startups, not necessarily entrepreneurial.
So when we say the entrepreneurial aspect of the background, that does include, it's a kind of a broad term, entrepreneurship, and definitely that also includes biz dev aspects, strategic relations, funding, market research, and the like. So that's part of the entrepreneurship domain of expertise, along with a technological background, and along with a deep domain knowledge of the problem area.
Mm-hmm. Okay, great. And I'll make this the last one. Compared to other GICs and the direct GSP application, is there a stronger expectation or even requirement to continue on this GIC idea at the GSP?
So at the GSP, it is the participant's choice if they want to continue with the idea. They're encouraged to continue with their idea very much and build that out. However, it's also quite likely that once you come into the program, your idea, by virtue of being exposed to these exponential technology trends and the like, it's likely your idea will also transform. And you might pivot it into a new direction. You might collaborate with another participant during the program who mashes up her idea with your idea, and that that evolves. So that's fully our expectation. That's fine, and it's really the participant's choice.
And to quickly add on that, so you should definitely you could continue with your idea and build on it. However, the idea or project you work on during GSP has to be related to the food challenge. So you should be working on something that's related to food and nothing else.
Okay, great. And Bernhard and Alex, a very specific question came in again about the Munich Accelerator. I just want to slip that in before we finish. You mentioned that flights were covered. Is accommodations covered as well?
Yes, both discounts of flights and accommodation.
Okay, excellent. And lightning round for anybody. What is the percentage of startups after the program that actually get traction as a result?
So that's a great question. From our Global Solutions Program perspective, over the years, we roughly have around 20 team projects that are formed during the program. And if you do a retrospective analysis on that in terms of successful startups that still are going on 3 to 5 years post-program, about 4 or 5 of those team projects will be continuing, which actually in terms of the numbers of entrepreneurship and the rates of success is actually quite high.
Okay, great. So with that, we are out of time. Thank you, everyone, for your questions. Shows you're very engaged. We're really eager to see your solutions. Thank you again to Alex and Bernhard and Regina and Nick for being a part of this, and especially to the World Food Program for partnering with us. Everybody on the call, look for an email with a link to this presentation. And if you do have any other questions about this GIC with the World Food Program, please email gic@su.org. And if you have any questions about SU in general and other programs that we have for entrepreneurs, feel free to email info@su.org. So thank you again very much for joining us. We look forward to seeing your solutions, and enjoy the rest of your day. Bye for now.